Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and I'm back for another monthly update video where I talk about some random topics that have been happening over the last little while. Usually try to do these about once a month, possibly a little bit more frequently if there's a lot of things happening. But before I go any further, I just want to thank everybody who has been supporting my work, supporting the channel, whether you've been here, for 10 minutes or 10 years. I've been doing this thing since 2012, believe it or not. And like I said, thank you to everybody who has been following the channel, following my work. I've received several great comments and some questions and several subscribers and likes and all that kind of stuff. So it is very much appreciated. I have done a few more podcast appearances recently. So if you made your way here via those, welcome. I hope you find something of interest and stick around. Um, I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Sometimes I will release videos more often if there's, let's say a special like a big gaming event or huge accessibility announcement or maybe a holiday, or it could just be, let's just release a bonus video because why not? But typically Monday, Wednesday, Saturday is when you can expect new videos. I do unlock or I do put everything into playlists, so check out the playlists area. I cover a wide variety of content here. I have my spotlight videos, so I have low vision and accessible game spotlights, and low vision spotlights are games that you can play if you have some remaining vision, that you may have a chance of playing if you have some remaining vision. And accessible game spotlights are those that are playable by someone who is totally blind. So I try to cover both as much as I can. I cover hardware, so I do hardware reviews. I do kind of some geeky stuff here and there, some geeky collectibles that I've gotten. I've done a couple Let's Plays, few Let's Plays here and there, but that is not the focus of my channel. I cover virtual reality accessibility. I haven't covered that quite as much recently, um, but I do have a lot of I have a few playlists devoted to a lot of virtual reality accessibility, be it games, experiences, and just different topics related to accessibility in VR, not just blindness and low vision. And then my Growing Up Illegally Cited playlist is another one that I would draw your attention to. That's where I answer a lot of questions that people commonly have. So, how did I get into my assistive technology, my day job? How did I get into doing YouTube or consulting, advocacy work? What is my vision like? And then I also talk about different just topics related to blindness, accessibility, some of my, just little past reminiscing here and there, all kinds of different things that people hopefully will find of interest. I do have a few more videos already queued up that I will be able to add to that playlist in the fairly near future, so stay tuned for that. And then, like I said, aside from the YouTube channel, like I said, I do a lot of advocacy and consulting work on the side outside of my day job. And I have done podcast appearances and video interviews with different people, been guests on their shows and that. And that is where you will find a lot of those in my podcasts, presentations, and interviews playlist. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. I've presented on game accessibility through like the Game Accessibility Conference, our local IGDA, and all kinds of other fun stuff. So again, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hope you find something and of interest and you stick around. Speaking of podcast appearances and interviews and such, I have a couple that I want to mention because they have recently come out, and if you're interested, I would like to share those with you. And before I go any further, you will hear a screen
Illegally
reader
cited
like
trailer.
this every once in a while. I just kind of mouse over something because my headset, kind of like my old one, if I don't use it Like even though I'm constantly talking, it's using the microphone, but if it doesn't hear anything for a while, it loves to go to sleep on me. So unfortunately, I have to kind of play some sound through it. So I know some people will do like a very low background music thing. I don't know, you know, if that is something that would people would find too distracting, or if you would like a little bit of very low background music. You have to let me know, and I'll see what I can do with that. Um, but a few weeks ago, what, 2, 3 weeks ago now, I was invited to be a guest on the WASD and Beyond podcast. Cool group of guys that I've been following for a little while now. Give them a huge shout out here. And they invited me to come on, and I talked to one of their hosts, Nick, and we just had a really fun chat. This was like right after the Xbox conference we had a few weeks ago where they talked about Fable and Forza and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we talked, yes, about some game accessibility stuff, but I really had a lot of fun with this one because, yes, I got to plug game accessibility to this is not a blindness or disability related podcast. This is just a, regular, um, non-disabled gamer podcast, but they were interested in learning more about what I do and game accessibility in general. So we did talk a little bit about that, but then it was just as fun and kind of refreshing actually to just chat about, the game industry as a whole, the state of the game industry, nerd out on some of our favorite games, or just talk about upcoming games, some of our favorite games. It was just under an hour, and we covered a lot of stuff, and I had a blast with that conversation. I would love to be back again if they invited me in the future. It'd be cool to talk to their other hosts as well. Nick was a really cool dude, and yeah, I'd love to talk to everybody and just chat some more. That would be great. But WASD and Beyond, and then about week or two later, if you follow other blind YouTubers, you may have heard of Blind Toes. He's been in my streams a few times, and I've seen him in other people's streams and other people's videos. He invited me on to do an interview about a week and a half ago now, and just like before, we talked about a little bit of everything. A little bit of game accessibility, a little bit of mobile games, console games, mods, kind of the state of accessibility right now. Um, some of our favorite games, technology. We talked a little bit about just technology and accessibility with that. The glasses thing. Oh God, what else did we talk about? A little bit of and a little bit of nerdy stuff to wrap things up. We talked a little bit about anime at the end. So yeah, I mean, it was just it's fun, kind of getting out there and chatting with other people, whether it is about game accessibility, tech accessibility. But like I said, honestly, I think it's really refreshing to touch on some of that stuff, but also talk with um, non-disability related podcasts or um, non-disability related content creators in general, be it video or audio, because that's where you expand. Like, we can talk within our own ecosystem, and we all know that accessibility is important. We all know that we want to play more games, but if we get that message out there beyond the blind and low vision, or beyond the disability sphere, as it will, echo chamber, if you will, I think that'll help. And like I said, I've talked to some really cool people. So those are a couple other ones that I have done recently. I will try and remember to put a link in the description down below. So if you want to check out those podcasts specifically, you can do so. And we should have another AppleVis podcast coming out. I don't know what the heck's going on with that. I hope everything is okay in AppleVis land, and with Thomas and everything. Hope everything is going well. But we recorded another AppleVis gaming podcast a few weeks ago, and we're kind of still waiting for that to be released. But we covered some really pretty fun games this time around. So as far as I know, I didn't check it yet this morning, but as of yesterday, it wasn't up. So hopefully that comes out soon, and you can check that out as well. So yeah, I've been keeping really busy. It's been really busy
Illegally
at
cited.
work. I've had a lot of just customer referrals, and so I've been keeping busy with that. Haven't really done any consulting gigs or anything like that lately, but I'm still doing some beta testing here and there. I'm still testing out the glasses stuff, and I know I said that I was going to do some sort of a specific smart glasses update video for everybody, and I do intend to still do that. I will try to get that in the next, couple few weeks here, because I think I have used the Echo-Vision glasses long enough to where I have a pretty good idea, where things are, and at least where things are sort of going in the near future. Oddly, the interesting thing with them is that like their AI stuff is actually pretty good and it's pretty smooth already. Where it still seems like they have some bumps in the road is literally kind of your connectivity. Some people have Bluetooth trouble, or whether it's connecting to your phone's mobile hotspot when you're out and about, or charging issues with the case, or kind of weird things like that, where like you would think that that's the stuff that before you would have a beta, you would think that is the stuff that they would kind of hammer out, and then we would be testing more of the AI capability and functionality. But that stuff seems again pretty solid. It's thankfully my pair of glasses have seemed pretty decent, especially after the last several updates. But I know other people are having a little bit more trouble. I've had a couple little glitches here and there, um, but I'll talk more about that in another video. The Meta glasses are still great. I'm still using them. The Gen 2s are really good. I mean, even the Gen 1s are not bad. But again, if you have the money and you're wanting to get a pair of the Meta glasses, just get the Gen 2s, because especially if it's something that you think you're going to use on a fairly regular basis, the Gen 2s, the main improvement is the battery life, and their battery life is much better than the Gen 1s. So they're doing pretty well. To be honest with you, I have not really used the Solos glasses at all in the last month or so. There really hasn't been any Ally updates. There's been one or two minor ones, but I really haven't used either the Ally app or the Solos glasses much at all in the last month, which is kind of sad because, like I said, early last year, I was kind of getting into the Ally thing. I thought they were doing some really neat things. But with the app and trying to get all the functionality with that, and then the glasses and launching them almost like, I don't know if it's globally, but around good chunk of the world. I think they just bit off more than they could really chew with that small team, and so they're really kind of struggling to keep up with everything. But the good news is, um, I finally got my subscription nonsense straightened out. I had mentioned that, I bought a subscription for Ally so I could test it and everything, and then I bought the discount for the pair of Solos glasses, but they overwrote my subscription. They didn't add it on to my original subscription that I had paid for, and I was trying to get that straightened out for like at least 2 months now. But within like the last week or so, they finally got back to me. They finally got back to me, and it is now straightened out, and I have a subscription through I believe, middle of next year. I think it's like July something of next year. So I will be able to keep monitoring that going forward. Still doing the Microsoft Low Vision advisory board thing, although we haven't really met in quite a long time, unfortunately. But there has been a little bit of
Illegally cited.
activity, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to start meeting more again, because I would love for them to keep improving the low vision accessibility for all of their stuff: Windows, Office, Xbox, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, XR Access had to go on a kind of an indefinite hiatus because of funding. So I'm not really doing that at the moment, but I do have another in. I've been working on another project that deals with virtual and augmented reality accessibility, and this one's actually really cool because we're really looking at building, putting together recommended industry standards for all aspects of XR accessibility, virtual and augmented reality accessibility. So this could be a platform maker like Valve or Meta. It could be a specific app or game developer making a game or an app or an experience. But we're looking at all angles of accessibility. Of course, I can bring in my lived experience as a low vision user, and I know kind of what types of things blind users need as well. Um, but that's been a really fun thing. We still meet like every 2 weeks, and we're hammering through trying to really establish these industry standards. So that's been a really fun and rewarding thing that I'm glad to be a small part of. But yeah, I mean, I'm just keeping really busy. I mean, my one of my biggest weaknesses is probably that I don't say no often enough. I hear about something cool, and either somebody invites me to do something cool, or I hear about something and I'm like, oh, I want to be a part of that, and then I ask about it, and then I somehow get involved. Um, but that's great though. I love what I do. Um, I think it's important, so that when everybody can use a piece of equipment, or Windows or iOS or a game or whatever it is, just making sure that these things are usable by the widest number of people. I'm trying to think if there is really anything else going on. I talked about the podcast appearances, talked about just all the other stuff going on. As far as the channel goes, boy howdy. Yeah, I remember like last fall, I remember saying, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough videos to keep up. I may switch to a 2 day a week upload. Um, that doesn't seem to be as much of a problem anymore. I was just kind of, I think, in a funk, and I hadn't recorded all that many videos. There was a streak where I had a backlog already uploaded, and I just had to unlock them. But I didn't record near as much for a little while, and so I was like, oh, I have fewer and fewer videos to unlock, and I'm like, okay. But again, there's been so many indie games, so many demos that have come out, so many just smaller games that have been really neat that I've wanted to check out, that I wanted to cover. Again, Steam has so many deep sales that it's like, ooh, that looks interesting, I should check that out. Or I hear about a game that has some accessibility features, and so I want to feature that. But no, content is not really slowing down. And a matter of fact, um, I don't remember what day it starts, but I want to say Steam Next Fest starts again here sometime in the next week. And we've already seen, even before the Steam Next Fest, we've seen several demos for games come out. I've downloaded a few myself. I've recorded videos for a few of them. There is a couple that I'm just like, yeah, nah, I don't think I'm going to do a demo video because the game comes out soon and I'll just cover the full game then. Or it just really didn't catch my attention. Then as much as I thought it would. Um, but I do have at least a couple more demos recorded already, and I've got maybe one or two demos that I need to record still. And there could also be a good number of demos I don't even know about that are going to be coming out that I'll hear about during the Steam Next Fest here coming up. So if that happens around that time, if I do end up building up quite a few demo videos, this is one of those cases where I may give you guys some bonus videos, so that I can still, let's say, put an accessible game video out on like a Wednesday or something, just to um, add some variety and not wait on the demos. Because the other thing with the demo videos is that some of these Steam demos, if people want to try them, I want to get those videos out as soon as I can, because after the Next Fests and things, sometimes they go away. Like, oh, we're gonna have a Next Fest demo, but when this event is over, we're gonna pull it down. Sometimes they're left up there, but sometimes not. And so, especially if it's something that you want to figure out, is this something that I can see well enough to play? I want to spread the word about a game that might be cool that you might want to try out for yourself, and try the demo while it's still available. So those are a little bit more timely. I want to get those videos out on a little bit more timely fashion. But I've got some iOS games already recorded. I've got a few more sitting on my phone that I need to get around to trying, that I will record some videos for. So there's all that kind of stuff happening. And there, again, we're going to be going into mid-February, March. There's a lot of different things. I think there's several things coming out like the first week of March. um, I want to say that Scott Pilgrim game is coming out the first week of March. There's a first-person shooter. I tried the demo, and I have mixed feelings on it. I maybe should have done a video, but I didn't because it's coming out soon. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. It's a cool idea. You think about John Carpenter's The Thing, but this Toxic Commando, it's kind of a cooperative. I kind of want to say Left 4 Dead-esque sort of a game, but you're on these sort of open maps. It's not a fully open world, but you have these expansive maps that you have to do a few objectives, and there's vehicles and just all kinds of stuff. And I just, it would, I wish there was a little bit more low vision accessibility than there is. And I don't know if the full game, once you get out of the tutorial area, some games that are multiplayer, you pretty much have to play with other people, whether it's randos or friends. And I don't know if you can do AI, your bots like you had in Left 4 Dead, or um, the Vermintide games, which I really enjoyed. So it's one I'm going to keep an eye on. And again, since the game is going to come out here fairly soon, I kind of want to see what the full release is like. So that's interesting. We've got a fair few other beat 'em ups that should be coming out here fairly soon. I've wish listed a few, and there's some that I've had on my Steam wish list for quite some time. There's some, of course, boomer shooters, and then I like the little surprises. There's a game I got hooked on last weekend that came out of nowhere for me. I had it in my Steam library, and I just decided to check it out. But it's basically like a overhead Zelda type of game, like your Link to the Past, but you play this little spaceship, and it's kind of like a dual stick, sometimes bullet hell shooter, but you're going through these dungeons and sort of the overworld type of thing. It's a really fun little game. So I want to release that video for you guys at some point in the near future. But I like these little surprises. That's where it's really fun. It's like, yeah, okay, I played another shooter, I played another platformer, I played whatever, but just those little, really unexpected and unique games. There was one, oh, I can't remember the name of it now. I literally saw on Twitter a couple days ago that just sounds really funny. I play a lot of those like Power Wash Simulator and House
Illegally.
Flipper, those kind of things. I forget the name of the stupid thing, but it's basically you're playing kind of like a handyman, but you're trying to just cut corners and just do things as cheaply as possible. So like you're just making, like, oh, you have to paint the wall, so I'm going to thin out the paint with some water just to make it last longer. Or you're like, oh, you got to move the couch out. All right, open up the window, chuck the couch out the window. Um, just making like shoddy furniture, or it just, the trailer looked stupid, but like also really awesome. So again, those are the types of things that I'm really looking forward to. Again, Sony had their event like a week ago or so, and it was really good. I think it was one of the best that they've done in a long, long time. Microsoft had a solid event a few weeks ago, and there are some AAA games that I am looking forward to. I really want to know more about Fable. I really want to love that game as a fan of the original trilogy. I really, really want to play Forza, but again, I hope we hear something, confirmation either way, about what level of drive assist accessibility is going to be in that game. I hope we do not revert to Forza Horizon 5. I hope we do get at least a majority of the Forza Motorsport accessibility. And as soon as I know, you guys will know. Because as soon as I know, I will try to get that word out there. Because, again, that is one that I really don't want to see regress. And yeah, a lot of Sony games, a lot of the ones that they showed, they didn't even show Wolverine at the last state of play, and they still had a really stacked lineup of games, and so it looks promising. Whether any of those games are going to have accessibility for blind players, I don't know, but I will do my best to try to keep up with those and let you guys know. And I do hope that Wolverine, especially coming from Insomniac, I really hope that that has. I think that like Wolverine should theoretically be a little easier than Spider-Man, because Wolverine you can probably jump really high and whatnot, but you're not necessarily swinging through the sky and walking on ceilings and all that kind of stuff. So like, hey, just being able to run around and slice dudes with your adamantium claws, hell yeah, bring it on. Um, so yeah, there is going to be hopefully no slowdown. We have the Game Accessibility Europe conference coming up in the near future. That is, I think, the end of April. They just, I saw, I think it was through Eventbrite, I got a notification saying that registration is now open. Again, remember this year they're doing all of their conferences virtually. So everyone can attend for free. You can optionally donate to give them a little bit of help. But again, if you're interested, if you follow this channel, if you are at all interested in game accessibility and you have not attended one of the
Illegally
game
signed.
accessibility conferences, whether the North America or European one, I highly encourage you to do so. I highly recommend it because you meet so many cool people. You meet developers, you meet advocates, you never know who you're going to meet in that Discord or if you're there in person. And all the sessions, even, like I said, I focus in blind low vision accessibility, but I like to know more about, when there's sessions on whether it could be hearing or motor or cognitive or any type of other accessibility. I will always, if a developer asks, I will refer them to other people who know those areas way better than I do through their lived experiences. but at least I will have, a base understanding to say, oh, here's a couple things that you might want to consider. If it's like a simple fix or something, I can say, oh, this would really help a couple of people. Or maybe I see some rapidly flashing lights and go, that's not really cool. You could really trigger somebody with epilepsy, let's say. Um, so like I said, it's very interesting, and I always look forward to those conferences twice a year. Um, so yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Um, and again, thank you to everybody who has been supporting the channel. And as I often say, we're in some really messed up times right now. The world seems like it's going to crap in a lot of different ways. If you have somebody who makes a game or an app, or you follow a content creator, podcaster, hey, shoot them a quick message. Let them know that you like what they do. Let them know of something specific that you liked. Because again, everyone is always, especially you go on social media or comments a lot of times somewhere, you got people that are like just hurling insults and fighting and just being the like the worst possible people imaginable. And so, these, even just the little things, you talk to your neighbor, you have a quick chat with your grocery delivery person or whatever. Um, it's just the little things. Just it takes a lot to keep us going these days, because sometimes it feels just terrible. Um, but the last thing that I really want to talk about is I want to talk about some news that's been happening the last couple few days this week. And again, wouldn't you know, like the game industry, the tech industry is just something has to. We need to find that reset button and just somehow just refresh things and kind of start from a smaller, cleanish slate again, because man. So we heard earlier this week, 2, 3 days ago, Bluepoint Studios shut down. This was a Sony first party studio that was focusing recently on a lot of remasters. So they did the Shadow of the Colossus remaster, and I forget, there was one or two other ones that they had done. But they, again, they were doing some pretty good work, and they were bringing back a lot of Sony games and helping other studios, I think, as well. They got shut down. So yeah, another industry closure, more frickin' layoffs. Terrible. And then we got hit with a banger yesterday afternoon, a really kind of unexpected surprise. As if Microsoft hasn't been going through enough lately, Phil Spencer is retiring as of Monday. And if you don't know who Phil Spencer is, he's been with Microsoft now for 38 years. And he came into the Xbox leadership after the Don Matrick era, that whole disaster. Remember when they unveiled the Xbox One? TV, 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 Connect, TV, garbage, maybe games, I don't know. Um, and he had to fight back. He had to try his best to pull Xbox back from whatever the hell that travesty was. And I think, did he fully succeed? There were a few stumble points for sure, but I think he did a lot. I think he did a pretty damn good job. He really stood up for backwards compatibility. There's a lot of games, original Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One games that are playable on the Series consoles. He advocated for cross-play, the play anywhere. Like, oh, you want to play, because I remember Sony was really resisting this for the longest time, and even they had to break eventually. There's so many games now that if they have multiplayer, you can play PC, Xbox, PlayStation, even Switch sometimes. And again, that'll really help if a game doesn't have a ton of players on one platform, the game can last a little bit longer because they can play with people on other platforms. They had the Play Anywhere thing. You buy a game on Xbox and you can fire it up on your Windows machine through the Xbox Windows app. So that's been a really cool thing. He started Game Pass. Game Pass has been a really helpful thing. It has helped me discover a few games that I wouldn't have otherwise tried. It has also there's been
Illegally
games
cited.
that I've been interested in that I tried on Game Pass and went, "Ooh, this is not near as accessible as I was hoping it was going to be." So it has actually saved me money in some cases. And I think, like, yes, he's still a business person. He's still management. He's still executive level. But I think that guy had a bit of authenticity that you don't often see. You get a lot of these suits that know nothing about the gaming industry. All they see is profit margins and how can we milk players for the most money, as quickly as possible. You know, we can't just have money, we have to have all the money. I mean, at least Phil Spencer, like, you could tell that he played games. He would talk about games that he played, that he enjoyed. And like I said, there was just sort of this authenticity to him that, like, yes, he had to do the business thing, and of course, we didn't agree with every decision that they made. But I think overall, he was a really good head of Xbox, and so I don't know if he's fully retiring or just retiring from Microsoft. I don't know if he's going to stay in the game industry at all. But yeah, as of Monday, he is retiring from Xbox. And then the interesting part of this is this Sarah Bond person. You may have seen her in some of these
Illegally cited.
Xbox events in the last few years. And she has been kind of one of the public facing people through Xbox. And apparently, everyone thought that, oh, well, she's going to be next in line. She's going to take over once Phil steps away. No, not so much. I don't know if she's leaving the exact same time as Phil Spencer is, but she is also resigning. That's her word. She's resigning from Xbox. And so, I don't know what's up with that. Again, everyone sort of thought that she was going to be the next in line. But I almost sort of wonder if something has to deal with who might be stepping in next. So, who is stepping in next for Xbox? Well, it happens to be somebody named um, Asha Shara. I don't know a lot about her other than I guess she has worked at Microsoft for a while, but she came from, guess where? The AI side of things. So that has kind of raised a few red flags, or a few at least cautionary yellow flags. Um, that has been sort of interesting. I don't know if she has any knowledge about gaming, if she plays games at all, if she has what sort of familiarity she has with whether it's games in general or Xbox. And part of me like honestly wonders if, maybe between Phil and Sarah, they didn't want to go in on all this AI stuff. Phil probably is like, well, I've been thinking about retiring anyway. I don't want to have to fight so hard, um, and piss off the even higher management. and be forced to shove AI into everything. But Sarah Bond, I wonder if, again, we don't know, but like I said, just kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit, it just sort of seems like, okay, maybe they didn't want to do, dive down the AI rabbit hole as much as the really high ups at Microsoft were wanting them to do. And so maybe it was a thing of like, well, either you go down this path that we want you to, or you can resign or be fired. And so I don't know if that's what happened to Sarah. Um, but again, you have somebody who comes from AI and now they're leading the Xbox department. You do have to wonder, especially the last year or so, how Satya Nadella and just a lot of the higher ups, like they're pushing AI so hard. It's like everything needs Copilot. Like, I'm not saying that Copilot is always necessarily bad, um, but don't, again, a lot of these companies, it's not just Microsoft, a lot of these companies are forcing AI at the expense of everything else. I mean, look at what we've seen the last like December, January. How many hot fixes have they released? How many stories have we seen about Windows updates screwing up all kinds of different machines in different ways, be it anything from something rather somewhat minor like, oh, in games it's this update has caused lower frame rates and worse optimization, all the way to, oh, I'm sorry, you can't boot your system anymore. Like I said, I literally paused my Windows updates a few weeks ago because I was hearing so many things, and I got shit to do, man. I got to keep my computer running. And so I didn't want to have, knock on wood, I haven't had anything bad happen on my rig yet, but I can't afford that to happen. I have too much stuff to do. I want to, I need it for work. I need it for my side gigs. I need it for the channel. I need it just to have fun, to research things, to, whatever it is, daily life stuff, entertainment. Um, and even, again, we've seen these stories the last week or two now about even Microsoft backpedaling a little bit and going, oh, yeah, okay, we realize Windows 11 is kind of in a messed up state and people are pissed. Um, we're going to spend the rest of this year trying to maybe walk back a little bit on this AI thing a little bit and fix some of the bugs and hopefully adjust some of their processes. Because again, if you have the Microsoft insiders, you have internal QA. I understand that. I mean, operating systems are super complicated. They're super complex, and you're never going to catch all the bugs. But for fairly like widespread issues to where it'll corrupt your data or it will make your computer unbootable, that's unacceptable. That's not cool at all. Especially when Windows is, by the majority. I mean, I tell this to people at work all the time, to clients at work. Windows is where the vast majority of businesses live. Office jobs, business jobs, 95% chance you're going to be running Windows. Um, and so you need that to be reliable. Um, so like I said, with this, and she's posted, there was a blog post, I think. She's posted a couple of social media posts out there, and she's like, oh, I have these 3 areas I really want to focus on. We want to focus on, games and bringing back Xbox, and I forget what the third one was, but I mean, she's saying the right things, but that's really easy to do. It's just like, during the Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or, whatever cause it is this week or this month or this day, it's easy to throw a social media post out there and say, yep, I believe in this. This is what we should do. But then how do your actions speak? Because a lot of times actions do speak louder than words. And it's like, oh well, yeah, we say this one time a year accessibility is important, or this one time a year this other cause is important. But then they just go, yep, we got our easy publicity, um, and now we just go back to doing whatever. um, Again, like, I wish her well. I hope that she does follow through with her list of things that she wants to prioritize, because those are good things to prioritize. I've talked about Xbox in the last several channel update videos. We have, this whole this is an Xbox, or what is an Xbox type of a thing. We have the upcoming system that's supposed to be like a hybrid PC and console. They may be even allowing other storefronts on it, like the Epic Games Store. I don't know what's even going to happen. Is it going to come out in 2027? Are they pushing it back to 2028 or later? Um, both Sony and Microsoft, with Rampocalypse and everybody buying up RAM and other components that you need for computers and game consoles and gadgets and everything. Like I said, I would be happy, honestly. I would be fine with the next generation of systems being postponed till 2029, 2030, because I think, again, there's so much bullshit happening with the game industry right now that it needs to simmer down. Prices need to go back down. These AAA developers need to focus on, games are supposed to be fun. That's what games are for. And if you want to attract people, you want to get people to play them, they have to have a reason. People are starting to see through your constant season passes and your microtransactions and your any way that you can milk them for more money. And then on top of that, you charge for a full game, or you release a unfinished game. And it's like, oh well, it's we call it a full game, but it's probably what you would probably call a beta at best. And so it's, a lot of times, especially for your bigger budget games, it's better to probably wait a few weeks at minimum, because a lot of the launches are kind of bad. They're unstable. You got a bad frame rate. There's crashes. Um, they don't worry about optimization anymore, because we have all this, raw power, whether it's CPU power, GPU power. We have all this memory, this RAM. Um, say what you will, but like you look back at like the 90s games where you had a lot of your Doom and Duke Nukem 3D, and any number of games from like the early to mid, even late 90s, and the amount of crap that they were able to cram on a few floppy disks or a CD, and now a demo is 40 gigs. It's like, Jesus, guys, come on. I mean, I know HD graphics are big and all, but it's just, I want to see, like I said earlier, I think the technology and game industry needs kind of a soft reset. And people really need to, you know, focus in on making good games again, stable games, fun games. And I'm not saying that you can't have, paid extras. PC games for the longest time had little things called expansion packs, where you would buy a full game, and then maybe 6 months or a year later you would get kind of a shorter additional campaign with some more levels, some more maps, a new story. That's fine. Um, but it's just, there's so much about, especially the AAA. And then, like I said, I play a lot more indie games because they're a lot more creative in general. And I just enjoy some of the unique stuff that they're doing that AAA isn't. but they have their own problems. Again, there's literally probably hundreds of games released every day, whether it's on the Switch eShop, Steam, wherever. And so it's hard to get your game noticed. You could make an amazing game, but if you didn't get the word out to the right people, or it just didn't catch on for whatever reason, you need that money to keep going and make your next game. This is why we see so many blind accessible games go, because, oh, we're going to target a group of people that is a smaller market, blind low vision players. And then on top of that, you have a lot of people in the blindness and low vision community. Give me a coupon code, give me a free game. So they're cutting further into their um, for what they could make, and so they make a game or two, and they say we can't do this anymore. We can't support ourselves. So the company closes, and we don't get any more games, and even the games we have go away. Um, so yeah, I again, we don't know what's going to happen with this Microsoft thing, but it was early afternoon yesterday when I saw the news of Phil Spencer retiring, Sarah Bond resigning, and then this new AI chick coming in. I'm just like, oh boy. Um, Microsoft already has kind of an uphill battle because they've they've burned some bridges. Xbox does not have the best reputation right now. I mean, the Xbox 360 days, they were great. Yes, they had their three red lights, their red ring of death issue. I experienced it at least 2 or 3 times myself, but the games were awesome. You had the big AAA, you had your Forza, Fable, Halo, Gears, any number of things. You had your Xbox Live Arcade games, which were awesome. That's when the indies thing started really catching on. And then you had the whole fiasco with the Xbox One. That really didn't do very well. The Series console was a good attempt. I think that was a better, you had the Series X, the Series S. Again, you had the Game Pass, you had backwards compatibility, you had Play Anywhere, you had cross play. But then, again, for every good thing that they do, they go and they had the what 3 or so year period where they were literally buying up everybody, and then we were wondering, there was this kind of drought where it's like, where are the games? So we're starting to see some of that come back. We're starting to see some of those, but at the same time, we're seeing multiple batches of huge layoffs. I don't even remember how many, but there's been at least 3 or 4 of those in the last year or so. We have studios, I forget the name of the studio, but the one that did Hi-Fi Rush, like I remember them complaining, well, we need smaller studios and we need like smaller games on our platform. Well, you had one that you shadow dropped that everybody loved, and then you closed their studio like a month later. Is anybody home? Come on, that's just dumb. Um, and then they raised the price of their systems, and this was before all the tariffs and the RAM stuff happening. And then they raised the price of Game Pass. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, the whole this is an Xbox thing. It's neat in theory, but even I ask myself, I have a Series S, and really the only thing that I would use it for is maybe to go back and play some games that I own through Xbox Live Arcade that are not back or that are not or that are backwards compatible, because I own things like the X-Men game arcade game, the Simpsons arcade game, some other titles that are not, you can't purchase them anymore, but if you own them, you have them. And to be able to play those, those are nice, but like everything else, I could just as well play it on my PC. So it's going to be an interesting thing going forward is, what can Xbox do to say, and you have Forza, you have Gears, you have these major Xbox exclusives now going to Sony as well. They may not go at the same time, but they'll be, they go to Sony eventually. So, what is the reason that I should still follow? What is the reason that I should still want to own an Xbox? And that's going to be an interesting question that they're going to have to answer, especially with the increased popularity of Windows or of PC gaming, with Xbox games being available on PC and PlayStation, with Valve potentially doing their Steam machine, although that's, again, with all the lack of hardware recently, that's kind of gotten maybe pushed back a little bit. So there's a lot more competition, and I don't know what they're
Six
going to
illegal.
be doing. I I'm cautiously, I want to be hopeful, I want to be excited, but this new Asha person, she's got an uphill battle in front of her. And again, maybe the Xbox team wants to do a lot of cool things, but again, they have to be at the whims of the higher, they're a part of Microsoft. And so you know, if the even higher ups at Microsoft say you have to cram AI into everything or we will get rid of you and find someone who will, um I don't know. It's a really interesting time. Um it could be good, it could be bad. It's definitely a huge shakeup. I'll be very curious to see what kind of presentation they put together for Summer Games Fest. I mean, I know we're going to have games that are already announced. We can look at the new Gears game. We have Fable. Well, Forza will be out by then. But they canceled Perfect Dark. They canceled several games. So I don't know what they're going to do. But I wanted to chat a little bit about, all these layoffs and this big Microsoft announcement. And then of course we had that game High Guard, though that was that live service game that ended the game awards last year, and that came out and they laid off a bunch of people. The game is still going for now, and they added, it was a 3-on-3 at first, but now they have a 5-on-5 multiplayer mode. But you got to wonder how much longer that game is going to be going. And again, I want games to succeed, even if it's a game that I don't like, or if it's a game that I'm not interested in. There's a lot of people who put their time and their money and their effort into making, and you especially as there's so many layoffs as it is, it's hard finding a job. um, there's so many people probably already looking for work that just increasing the job pool, the people that are laid off is it's rough. And like I said, I'm so glad I have the job that I do. Like, there was a time where I wanted to work at Microsoft or one of these game studios, and I'm like, boy, howdy. I'm glad I dodged that bullet. I have a fairly secure state job, and I can do all the gaming stuff and fun stuff on the side because I've told you in some of the growing up illegally cited videos and other videos that I've lived dirt ghetto poor before. And I've made this sacred vow that if I have anything to do with it, if I have anything to say about it, I am not going to live that way again because it was miserable. I don't, I mean, I know some people kind of don't have a choice, but like, people who choose to live on Social Security, um, I totally get it that it's like you just want to give up after your 500th job application and job rejection. I get it. but I just can't give up because that is just no way to live. You're on all these different, then you're on that benefit. You have to have housing assistance. You got to have this, and you're mooching every way, every which way you can. And the amount of reporting that you have to do, it's easier to get a job. It's far less stressful to have a job than it is to deal with all that bullshit every day. It's no way to live. Um, so I'm very fortunate. I'm really glad I have the job that I do, and I'm still able to do this on the side, and do the channel and interviews and podcasts and things for you guys because I enjoy it. It's fun. And that is where we are going to wrap up today's video. I hope you guys found it helpful. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you came over here new from one of my other podcast interviews or appearances, welcome. I hope you found this to be interesting. I try to do these maybe once or twice a month. And you have all my other content and playlists, so check it out. And yeah, hope you guys find something helpful. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, Blue Sky at Illegally Cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.